Welcome to Not a Great Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Katy Rey, and I am joined with the amazing Noelle Soncrant, or however you want to pronounce it today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Katy. Appreciate you having me.
Oh my gosh, yes. So we met through a mutual friend. We are living our best lives. That's what we have in common, right?
Yep.
And Noelle, I really like to jump right into your journey, your story, how you got to where you are today, what obstacles you've really run into, especially recently in Florida. But really, who are you?
Who am I? That's a great question. And some days I think that's hard to really, for all of us, it's really kind of hard to figure out who we are. But for me, I am just somebody right now trying to live my best authentic life for the first time forever. I always say I knew when I was 10, but I didn't really truly understand it until I was in my late 30s, early 40s, what was going on. I grew up in a completely different era than what we see now, where there wasn't a whole lot of exposure to the LGBTQ community. I grew up in a small conservative Midwestern town where you were taught to, if you had any mental health issues, that was seen as a weakness, and you were you hid those from people. But I also remember at about the age of 10, and if you've read Glennon Doyle's book Untamed, she references that at age 10, we start to lose our imagination of what we want to be and start to conform to what society tells us to be. And that's on page 4 of the book. And the first time I read that book, I literally just burst into tears for like a day and a half, I think it was, because I felt that so much that I remember being 10 years old. I had been called every derogatory term in the world by that point in time, and I was picked on. I just remember going, I have to hide this side of me. Otherwise, I am not going to survive elementary school. I had already had thoughts of suicide by that age.
What were some of the things you were getting bullied on and just being yourself, right?
Yeah, just because I was, and I don't think I was like necessarily super feminine at that point in time. I was doing my best to be as masculine and fit in. But I was still considered weaker, and I don't really want to use the terms that
but it was more toxic masculinity around you, yeah. Right?
Oh, absolutely. And so I just started trying to, I guess, basically create this character of what I was going to become for the next, for the rest of my life. But thankfully, eventually, I realized I can't play this character anymore. I have to be myself. So, yeah. So, I mean, that's the premise for it all. I lived the life we're supposed to live, the life we're told to live. And it's funny because we talk about one of the big catchwords right now is indoctrination, right? But we're all indoctrinated at an early age that we're supposed to live a straight, heterosexual, cis, Christian life. That is what we are indoctrinated into. And if you don't do that, then you are abnormal. There's something wrong with you. You are, you have no morals. You're going to hell. You can't be part of the church. All these different things. I was indoctrinated in that. And it's funny too, because I think if you ask any LGBTQ person, we don't wish this upon anyone. I mean, we just want people, if it's our kids, we just want them to have a space to be who they are. I don't wish being transgender on my worst enemy. It is not an easy process. It is very difficult mentally. It is something I thought long and hard on. I pushed it off until I felt like I had no other options. In hindsight, do I wish I had started much earlier? Heck yeah. Amazing thing what my life would be. But also all the great things that I did have that I missed out, that I would have missed out on. And so yeah, I mean, we're just trying to live our best lives.
Oh yeah. And I think the experience that you've had, living that indoctrinated world and being like, oh, I have to just fit in. It's like just blending in.
Yeah.
And it just then you start crawling around in your own skin and you're like, this just doesn't feel right. And your gut's screaming at you. And like, but you have loved ones around you. So it's that whole, it's just how society's gotten in our head. And Untamed is one of my favorite books.
Awesome.
And it just reminds you, like, be exactly who you were meant to be. Who you are at your core matters. What do you feel like are some of the experiences that makes you able to help people on this journey? I feel like you've gone through, white male, right, in a male dominated industry. And it's crazy to me because they'll be like, you're looking for attention, you're doing this. Nobody right now, also for women in this country, nobody wants to be in that category right now.
Right.
Like you're respecting that, like, you know what I mean? So it's just blows my mind, the stories that go around people just being able to be who they are. What's one of the hardest things for you, going through, I'm not sure where you went to school and if you were out of town, like what was that whole transition and what did you kind of like focus on your studies? Like what was something that you focused on?
Well, I've only started transitioning in the last year. So for me, going through college and going through everything, it was, again, a miserable experience. Everybody says high school is the best time of your life. I thought it was the absolute worst time of my life, high school. I absolutely hated high school and middle school. I do not have any desire to ever go back and relive those years. College was a little bit better because I was able, honestly, I drank a lot. Honestly, yeah. if I have to drink, probably more than your average college student. And that helped me get through college. I worked a lot. I worked in I was able to hide a little bit better because I actually worked in the athletic department at my alma mater. And so I was always around, a very masculine centered environment. So nobody suspected anything of me. So college was okay for me. Getting out and I think I just wandered around for about 20 years trying to figure out. I took jobs. I was in fundraising. I worked in college athletics for about 20 years and did my best to just kind of live in that environment. I certainly had some enjoyable experiences out of that, but also some very uncomfortable experiences, just seeing some of the things that happen. Whether that's in college athletics or it happens in the corporate world too, and just you get into those certain situations where it's male dominated and you're kind of seeing and hear things that just aren't right, no matter where you're coming from. So I just went on a journey of basically pretending and hiding. So, you talk about, for me, it was just about blending in as much as possible. So doing something like this for me is still very uncomfortable, putting myself out there because I'm still in this habit of just trying to blend in.
Yeah.
Trying to be invisible so that nobody notices me. But as we kind of talked about a little bit before we came on, that for me, what really helped me is as I was going through my life and I did a lot of networking and things like that as I was doing fundraising, I actually saw a transgender woman out in a professional networking events multiple times. And at this point in time in my life, I had finally realized what my struggles were, that I wasn't being my authentic self, but I was still unwilling to accept that for me because at that point I had a wife. I have 2 kids. I was the primary breadwinner. I needed to support them, and I had to sacrifice all this stuff. I had to sacrifice my authenticity because I had made this commitment. But as life kind of moved along, and my ex started going back to work, she had stayed at home with my kids for we made the decision to have her stay at home for the first few years. She went back to work. And I kept seeing this woman out there, and it just gave me hope that there was going to be a time where I could live my authentic life and be what I wanted to be. And
representation really does matter,
It does. And so doing things like this is is really to give others hopefully hope, especially because I am in a very conservative field. I am the only transgender person of my career in my company out of 14,000 nationwide. So
I did not know that stat. Wow.
Yeah, right now. So we are actively trying to, I am actively trying to change that. Whether it's here or in another part of the country, I am trying to recruit more LGBTQ financial advisors, which is what we do, and working closely with people in our home office in Milwaukee to try to do that. How do we do this? Because I want to see more representation, and this I deal with a lot of my clients. They want to see that representation too, because you're going to have more comfort with people that understand you, that like you. And so it's, that visibility aspect of it is really why I even do any of this.
I think the courage, the fact that it's been a year since you know, it's very new, right?
11 months.
Yeah. And I told you about my dad coming out when I was in 7th grade and him and my dad, you know, and I remember when it was new, there's a lot of stuff happening, right? So I give you a lot of credit, a lot of courage that you are out there being visible to people so they can feel good for who they are, especially in a really, really ugly state right now. Because we live in Florida. Noelle and I live in this state that is gross right now. And I think it's really important the message comes out because, you know, me, I'm just like, we're all humans. That's it. Like, just be good humans. And it really,
I don't know why that's so hard to understand. Like, just let people live. It's, what do we hurt? How are we hurt? How am I hurting?
Have your feelings. Goodbye. Stop attacking people. That's it. Like, just go ahead. Have your feelings. I'm not asking you to hang out with us. But so my thing too is, it has to be a lot of extra outside stress with your own stress, right? Because you were kind of acting your entire life, right? Like you had to act, but you have these experiences, you have kids, like you love your kid. Like there's so many little things that, you know, there's like joys within that. But how are you kind of pouring into yourself now? Like what's something that you do? Is it therapy? Is it like, what's some of the things that you've been really making sure that you keep consistent?
So for me, I mean, therapy is
me too.
is an absolute must, as it is for so many of us. And
everybody, we can do it.
I referenced it earlier, but that's a big change between, you know, our times now and when I was growing up, is that you don't have to be ashamed to need help. You're encouraged to get help because it can make you a stronger person. It gives you that unbiased voice that can help you sort through some things that maybe are confusing to you. I went through lots of therapy before I got to this point. So that's something huge. I think self-care, and that means something different for everybody. I practice yoga, hopefully twice a week. I try to make it at least twice a week. But for me, though, too, is what makes me really feel good is just doing things to help others. And so I spend, I do once a month, I cook dinner at the Ronald McDonald, provide and cook dinner at the Ronald McDonald House for the family staying there. And I've been doing that since December. My goal is to do it once a month for the entire year of 2023, and then I'll see how often we can do it in 2024. I'm involved with PFLAG Riverview, who's hosting a Pride Prom coming up in May, which is huge for our community, and especially right now with what's happening with our LGBT youth and the things that are happening in the schools, give them that outlet just to be themselves. And so we're really excited about that. I'm involved with Come Out St. Pete and just providing opportunities for people to come out and be themselves. And then I do a fundraiser once a year that usually in the fall that raises money for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation and Alex's Lemonade Stand, which is our company's national philanthropy. And then just little things here and there to try to stay involved with the community and help, really just help others. And, you know, I think we all know other people, other professionals that are super involved with a specific charity or specific not-for-profits or specific causes. I think we just have a tendency to jump in and try to help our friends that are doing those things too in much smaller ways. So.
Do you feel like you sometimes do so much more so that the discrimination or the judgment doesn't happen right away? because your character is so good, it's like, the judgment's always coming from
Yeah.
whoever's in the room. Do
Yeah.
you ever feel like it's just like, I'm a good person, like you're trying to show like it's not who you're labeling me as, it's actually my character?
And honestly, that's the hardest thing about being my authentic self. It's whether it's going to Target. Like I went to Target yesterday, and yes, I get stares, and I shouldn't. I went like stripped down, like not stripped down, but I like just plain clothes, no makeup, hair up, just like anybody goes to Target on a Sunday, right? And
100%, yes.
Yeah, and that can be a very traumatic experience for me. And yesterday, unfortunately, it was a traumatic experience, and it wasn't that anybody said to me or what they did, but it's the looks, it's the stares, it's the snickers. There's young boys whispering and pointing at me, these different things, and the parents just not saying anything to them. And I'm somewhat used to it. I refer to it as, death by 1,000 paper cuts. I can take it and I can take it and I take it. And then there gets to a point where it's just like, I have a breakdown. That's too much. I can't deal with it. And so you take that and you take what's happening with the laws in the state of Florida and throughout our country and the attacks. And we've already had one Pride cancel this year because of the laws that are coming in. What's going to happen with those? Certainly there's, I feel added pressure being the only LGBTQ advisor that we have here in the Tampa Bay area for our company to represent our community and do that, to be the voice for the LGBTQ community in our company and in our profession. There's all these different things that add up. You're still trying to be, a parent and a friend to others, and not get to the point to where I'm a burden on others, because I know I'm, I think I actually sent somebody a text this yesterday or Saturday. I said, I know I'm a hot mess express right now. And I know I'm a handful right now, but I'm getting stronger and I'm getting more confident in myself, and just keep sticking with me. And, but I'm also very loyal to those people too.
Yeah.
And,
You're an amazing friend and just person to be around. Did you, when you started therapy, kind of in your transition to, doing what you needed to do for yourself, was your ex-spouse a part of that? Was it something, was she?
Funny story.
Okay.
She was the one that actually, and she didn't know at the time why, but she was like, you need help. You need to go to therapy, because I had started becoming very difficult to live with. I was always angry. I couldn't have a conversation without raising my voice. And I was very argumentative, and she's like, you need help. And I kind of knew what was going on. I kind of knew, and I was resisting that.
Yeah.
And so, but who do you go to? Well, who do I go talk to about being transgender? Who a therapist is? This is probably 6-7 years ago. There was not a plethora of therapists that were trained in this or had experience in this in Florida, at least that I was aware of. And so I went through about 5 different therapists, and each time you have to start over. It is a traumatizing experience to have to, is this person going to accept me? Is this person going to be able to help me? And I think it's probably the same way whether you're trans or you're depressed or anything. Every time you have to open yourself up like that,
reliving it,
reveal your deepest feelings and secrets, it's traumatic for us. And so I'm thankful I finally found the therapist I've been with for well over, I think, a year now. And she's been great. I could probably use more. There's been times where I have added a second therapist just to get a different opinion, and during particularly rough times. So
you're more self-aware with that too, and your emotions.
I might be too self-aware in some ways. So, because we're humans, so we beat ourselves up. We're very, we always feel like our troubles that we're feeling, if we bring them to our friends, we're burdening them with our problems, and we don't ever want to do that. And I'm sure you're the same way. Anybody listening is probably the same way. You there's certain things you don't share with people because you feel like you're burdening them, despite how many times they tell you you're not a burden. You still feel that way. And so I don't know. I kind of like have a group of friends, and so I kind of rotate them a little bit. Try not to become too dependent on one person.
Yeah, and relationships are so important with our friends, and if that feels good. But remember, you're not a burden because you are loyal and you would be there for them.
I'm great at telling other people that, believing it myself though, forget about it.
I know, I get it. I get when people check in on me, I'm like, oh, do you really want the story right now? Oh,
sure.
It's crazy, right? Yeah, I feel you on that. So how, like, what is something that you feel is your biggest challenge right now? Like, what is this? Because the Target story rips my heart out, right? Because it's like a normal day for you turned into heartache because we're not doing well with our children. We have some trans women at our Publix, and it's wonderful. And I remember nails and eye makeup, and Jaden just goes, "That's a girl." And I was like, "Listen, we get to be whoever we want to be. Am I right? We don't judge anyone." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right." And just walked away. And you just pouring that, right? You just pour in that, we don't judge, because you're going to get just like kids ask when there's someone in a wheelchair, or when and when you ignore someone, because we're different, it's like that makes them feel like there's shame with that. Yep. It's like, it's not fair for us to teach our kids like that, because then you're just leading them up to turning into really kind of shitty humans. Yeah. So, I have the blessing of 2 grandpas, a grandma and grandpa, a grandma, my kids see love differently. Yeah. So it's just reminding them that everybody's different. Every single person, they're good people, still the same human with really awesome nails now, Yep.
Yeah. Right. And so much more. So much more.
I don't have to talk to you about trans. It's she is exactly who she wants to be, and let's just ride with it. That's it.
As long as they're a good person and treating others with kindness and respect that they want, then by all means, go for it. I would say that about anything. I'm not a gun owner. You want to own a gun though? Yeah. That's fine. Just use it with respect. Exactly. Don't use it as a threatening tool or as
use a rage tool. If someone exactly. I feel that too. And sometimes I think, am I going crazy? And was what I'm saying wrong? Right? You look back and you're like, wait, maybe because there's so many people going on this. I sometimes just question myself, and I'm like, no, stay the course. You right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, 100%. Oh yeah. It just feels, it's a hard time. And I'll tell you what, you are very brave. And I think it's going to be very encouraging for people to hear your story, because, these times are, I have 2 daughters, and when the laws went out for Roe versus Wade getting overturned and all this, I was just bawling.
Yeah.
I
think it's a hard time. It's a hard time for a lot of people. I think for most people, and I get called brave a lot, but I think anybody that is out there just being themselves and getting through the day, whatever we're dealing with on the inside, if we're getting through that, we're brave. Whether, I'm no more brave than you are for.
We should be better people. Yeah, we should be better. We're telling people they're brave for being themselves. What?
I know, it's crazy, right?
It's like people be themselves and not have to be brave. They just be themselves.
So so I'm always really quick to point that off people. I'm not special because I'm living my authentic life as a trans woman, which that's me. It doesn't make me any more brave than you living your life as a cis woman whose rights are being attacked, and who in the let me get that out of the way. Who in the world has certain challenges, is looked at a certain way. There's certain people that won't accept you as an equal. We can get into skin color. We can get into disabilities. We can get into all these different variations of what being a human is. And we all have challenges that just eat at us inside, and each of us are equally as brave when we show up day after day after day, being our authentic, kind selves, and just being a part of this community that we're a part of.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I love that you educate along the way, who's your biggest mentor right now, or what kind of helps you and guides you right now?
I'm lucky that I have an amazing group of people with Northwestern Mutual who support me. The one person that's been with me from the beginning of this is our managing director of New Tampa and Clearwater, Nikki Zolkis, who's been, I tell her all the time, I would not be here if it wasn't for her. And then I have a couple colleagues that are Melissa Ramos, and who's out of our New Tampa office, and another one, Ashley McKenzie, who's actually out of Maryland, who I met through a LGBTQ study group, who are just tremendous resources and support. We support each other back and forth as well. So, I mean, those are the people, those are my go-to people. And then I have a whole group of others that I know are there and check in, and I check in on them, and we support each other. There's some women in the transgender community that are great resources for me because they've been through it, as far as here's what you need to be doing from a personal standpoint to take care of yourself. And, but again, I know I've been lucky because when I started my career with Northwestern Mutual, I wasn't out yet. I worked for about a year and a half before I came out. I had built up a client base. One of the scariest things for me was, are these clients going to stay with me once they find out? We spent 8 months planning what this was going to look like. I am literally a planner. Everything has to be planned out to, this is how it's going to go. And if it doesn't go that way, then I'm a mess. But Nikki and I spent literally, I think, 8 months planning this out. And just to kind of comment on that, there are good humans out there. We sent this information out. If they wanted to change advisors, to contact Nikki. I didn't lose a single client. I wish I could say that about friends, but I don't lose a single client. I haven't necessarily struggled because of not being able to get clients with my career. It's progressed more slowly because of just dealing with personal issues and transitioning and dealing with life. So I haven't been able to focus as much on growing my business as I wanted to. But I'm now getting that point where I can. But there are a lot of really good people out there that just, we don't care. You do your job. I had one client say, as long as you're doing your job, I could care less. I'm like, perfect. That's all I need to hear from anybody.
Yeah, that's it. Let me do me, and we'll make sure everything's good. That's good.
But I wouldn't get through a lot of these harder days without those people that are constantly there for me and supporting me, checking in on me. Nikki should be getting paid double as a therapist, quite honestly, because she's just done so much for me. So
she'll send your invoice later. Your invoice.
Yeah, I know.
What's some advice that really helped you, or something that someone might hear that might help them from you?
Well, I actually have it tattooed on my arm from Untamed. Actually on my arm, I have the saying, feel it all, which is a common theme in Untamed, followed by seven cheetah prints to remind me of the story that she told towards the beginning of the book, that she took her, I believe it was her daughter, to, I'm assuming it was a zoo or something like that, and they had a cheetah run where the cheetah chases something, and you could see how fast the cheetah ran. And after the trainer did that with the cheetah, her daughter noticed that the cheetah was kind of sitting there staring off in his face into what was their open space. And her daughter asked the trainer, "Does the cheetah miss its natural habitat?" And the trainer's like, "Oh no, because this cheetah was born here, so it doesn't even know what it's missing." And yet they could just tell it in the cheetah's eyes that it knew something more was out there. And that hit so home to me. That was another just bawling moment when I read that in that book too. I cried a lot during that book.
Okay, it's good. Crying's good.
but she reflects on we're supposed to feel it all by feeling all the bad, all the sad, all the angry. It makes us appreciate the good more and makes us better. Allows us to empathize with people because we can feel those things when they're going through. It makes us better friends. It makes me a better advisor. Makes me a better parent. It just makes all of us better if we can accept that we're supposed to feel that in that moment. And we just have to get through that, accept it for what it is in that moment, and then move on with life. And I think that's the biggest thing, that the best advice anybody's given to me, or that I've taken from anything. I think I got it both from Untamed, and it's certainly something that one of my mentors reminds me of all the time. And also just that I am enough. I am enough. I don't need others. What I provide for myself, and I can live a great life, even if it is just with me. And just reminding yourself that you are enough. So
every day, we got to do the work every day. And
it's hard some days. There's some days I fail, and that's okay. And you get up the next day and you try again.
Yeah, you're totally right. Where can we find you?
Well, you
like your email and your Instagram or something, not like your address.
I'll say, well, right now I am. So my email is really simple. Noelle, Noelle .Soncrant, SONCRANT, or however you want to pronounce that, at nm.com. My Instagram, honestly, I don't even know what my Instagram is.
It'll all be attached to it.
I'm still learning Instagram. So
I'm Noelle through Not a Great Whisper podcast.
If you find me on LinkedIn, search me on LinkedIn, you'll find me there too. So those are all great places to find me.
I'm a LinkedIn kind of person too.
I am. Instagram is interesting. I'm trying to utilize it. I'm trying to learn it. I still don't know how to make a reel. At least I don't think I know how to make a reel. I think I've accidentally made a couple.
You're still great. Don't even worry about it. You're still great. I really appreciate you joining today. I love to hear people's journeys. I think it's really important that we see people for exactly who they are, just good humans. And I know, it seems hard, but there are good people out there. You named a few on your list already, but I'm excited to continue our relationship. And I just appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thanks so much for highlighting great people and for including me in this. So,
of course.
Thank you.